Hey guys, Caesar here. Lately, I have been thinking about all the things I have to be grateful for in my life. But I've also noticed how many things I seem to complain about, most of which are not really that big a deal, and most of which are truly first world issues that I'll bet 2/3 of the people on this planet never even really worry about. I mean, I'll complain about my toilet handle, needs jiggling and the toilet's running again, and then be reminded how many people in the world lack sanitation, and they would say, "You own a toilet of your own?" Well, or I'll complain about Trader Joe's running out of my favorite no-stir almond butter, and then remember that the breadth of food choices that I and we here in America enjoy, regardless of our income level, is staggering, right? Much of the world's population is just excited if they get to eat today, much less worry about super specific brand choice. Yikes. Well, years ago, I was serving on a team that was delivering food supplies to starving people in South Sudan. And I experienced a situation and had a conversation that forever changed my understanding of what true gratitude and thankfulness looks like and where it is found. One day, while we were distributing beans and rice in a refugee camp near the border of Uganda, I met a boy who looked to be about 12 years old, and I asked, "Who are you?" And his name was James. He was tall and super thin, and just like everyone else in this camp, he had lived through near starvation and brutal attacks by militant rebels that had decimated his village. Now, I noticed that his left hand and his arm were scarred and burnt and kind of disfigured, and he had this large patch of hair missing off the back of his head that seemed to have been burned off at some point in the past. And I asked my translator if he knew what had happened to this boy, and he asked James to tell me his story. And he told me that a few months earlier, he and his two brothers were walking along with their parents in their own village when radical Islamic soldiers hacked his parents to death with machetes right before their eyes because they were Christians. And then the soldiers threw him and his two brothers onto a large pile of burning garbage. He said his brothers both died in the fire that day, but he had somehow managed to crawl out of the fire and escape with his life. That's how he got burned. He then went on to tell me how grateful he was. I'm not kidding. He was thankful that God had spared his life against all odds that dreadful day. And he knew that he would one day see his family again in heaven and that they were in a safe place now and with Jesus. I was blown away and I wept like a baby as he told me this. Here's a picture I took of James holding a photograph of my son Caesar, who was about the same age at the time. What a contrast. As I spent more time with James and other Christians in the refugee camp that day, I couldn't help but notice that they exhibited unbelievable joy. Yes, like actual joy. They were the happiest people I think I'd ever met in my life. Amid the war and horrible famine and persecution they suffered on a daily basis, these brothers and sisters were filled with a sense of peace and joy that I had never personally experienced myself. I mean, shouldn't I, with all of my American health, wealth, and comfort, be happier and more grateful than them? I remember later that night crying out to God saying, "God, I would trade everything I have to experience the joy that they find in you." And God replied, "Then do." See, James and these other Sudanese Christians I spent time with, they had no possessions, no country or homes, and in some cases no earthly families, nothing left to put their hope in. But they had found the only thing that truly satisfies the human heart, Jesus. They didn't have or need material possessions to be happy, and there was nothing profound for them to do. They had found their very life, their identity and purpose and joy in Jesus. And it's Jesus who pursues and secures and maintains our position in the family of God. He died that we might be restored to a right relationship with his Father, back into the family we were originally created to be a part of. He gave his all that we may have all. It's all about him. It's all about Jesus. So this made me wonder, do we find our happiness and security and purpose in our stuff or from what we do? Or is Jesus enough? If all we had was him in our life, would we possess true joy and gratitude? And then could we go on to see other good things and people in our life as directly from him as a total, undeserved bonus? This year, I really want to grow in a moment-by-moment gratitude that comes from knowing that I'm loved and secure because of Jesus, and that everything good in my life comes from him. See, if you're like me and you can tend to lose your focus on what we truly have to be thankful for, the next best time to return to the true source of our gratitude and joy is now. I put a link below to a cool Thanksgiving guide that'll help you sharing your thankfulness around the table with family and friends this year. It's a little different than anything I've ever seen. I think you'll really like it. It's free. Go ahead and download it now and give it a try. And as always, thanks for watching.